Joe Megibow here, CEO of Purple. Appreciate you being here. We're going to give you a little bit of background about Purple, but mostly talk about just what's happened over the last few months during these very challenging times. To kick things off, I wanted to quickly just show you a very short 30-second video, just to give you a little background on Purple and our product. Here you go.
The Purple Grid revolutionizes what you know about great sleep. Instant response, reacting to your every move. Unparalleled pressure reduction, soft where you want it, firm where you need it. And luxurious temperature-neutral comfort, sleep after glorious sleep. True innovation, only Purple.
Great. So hopefully that came through okay. What you can see is, Purple at our core is a very different kind of company. We primarily sell mattresses, though we also sell some pillows and seat cushions and other things as well. But at our core, we are built on this fundamentally different technology. What we've got up here, this grid behind me here, you see this really stretchy grid-like material that's at the core of all our products. A little bit into background about us. So, we're a manufacturer at our core, over 700,000 square feet of manufacturing and warehousing, all domestic. We're a US manufacturer, over 1,100 people supporting us. We've got over 100 patents that we've been issued. We've actually been at this over 30 years, inventing gels and technology, starting with things like medical beds and medical seat cushions for wheelchairs. We only recently launched as a consumer company about 5 years ago as Purple. We are a very omnichannel retailer, selling a ton online, as well as also supported with 5 of our own showrooms, and great partnership we have with retail partners. We're in over 1,800 doors now, led by Mattress Firm, as well as stores like Macy's and Bloomingdale's, and other great furniture and mattress sellers. We, at our core, really began with disruptive video. We've had over 2.4 billion views of our videos to date, across all channels. And when you consider that these are primarily mattress commercials, I find that rather remarkable. We've had spectacular growth, ended last year with $428 million of revenue. End of Q1, we haven't announced Q2 yet, but at the end of Q1, we had closed 122 million of net revenue and over 10 million of EBITDA. We've been profitable over a year now and are producing healthy amounts of cash. So when COVID-19 hit, it sort of threw everybody's game off, and we were not alone there. We saw our brick and mortar business, which on a units basis was about half of our actually more than half of our units, and at that time close to 40% of our revenue just disappeared overnight. And even DTC we saw just soften pretty dramatically. We went into cash preservation mode. None of us knew it was going to happen. As a manufacturer, we stopped making product. We furloughed a third of the company. We were looking to expand our capacity, which we just fully put on hold. We were going to be opening more showrooms, had deals ready to close and ready to go. It all went on pause. And even, the really tough stuff with our own employees, with deferring bonuses from the prior year that had been earned that hadn't been paid out yet, we put on pause. Salary increases, promotions, and even across the board in the executive team, some pretty substantial pay cuts, just to make sure we could get through and survive. And then April came along and everything changed again. And, pretty remarkable what we started to see happen. First of all, we saw growing demand online for our product. And in fact, very quickly, we saw on a units basis, while about half our units were going through brick and mortar, as consumers were either unable or unwilling to go to brick and mortar stores, we saw the entirety of that demand shift online. So in a units business, we suddenly saw demand completely come back, but a massive, almost seismic channel shift online. And we saw with that behavioral changes as well, which I'll get into. But the first thing was, how do we actually spin this business back up? Because it wasn't just about getting everyone back to work, but also how do we get everyone back to work safely? As a manufacturer, that meant figuring out all new mechanisms for managing shifts and how we brought people in and relaying the floor and how we handled things like breaks and lunchrooms, and finding things that I'd never even considered looking into, like large scale aerosol virus killing bombing solutions that we could use at least once a week to just completely sterilize the entire 500,000 square foot facility. So we had to completely sort of reinvent our operations as a manufacturer to get back to business, or we would have no way to meet this sudden growing demand. What also happened, though, is we saw shifts in what consumers were looking for. So, for example, our seat cushions, which are terrific and we've had out there for years, suddenly went from being kind of a side product that we sold a little bit to something in very high demand. As people were suddenly outfitting their home offices and sitting on their home chairs, they realized, I need something better. And you can see at the time, this was something we were going to get to a year from now. Let's dig into some of these other categories. And if you looked on our site, you would see seat cushions was the very last menu option on our global nav. Below accessories, the very last menu item. And if you went to this page, it would look like a page that probably hadn't gotten any love in a year or more, because it hadn't gotten any love in maybe a year or more. And overnight, we realized, as we were getting multiples, hundreds of % increase in demand and sales in this category, how do we lean into this quickly and change our strategy? Which meant all new creative, all new content, redesigning the PDPs, redesigning the flows, new marketing, new bundles, new promotions. And we spun this stuff up in weeks to lean into it and not just have it be sort of a flash in the pan opportunity. And the ability of the team to do this and readdress was just amazing. And you'll see, it went from being a buried thing under accessories to actually the third most prominent item that we were selling in our global nav. We also were looking at ways, okay, we've got everyone back to work. We're leaning into new categories. We're leaning into digital. We're casting a wider net and capturing all this audience. But how do we find a way to actually do more and give back a little bit? And, with that, we actually found an organization that was very good at donating beds. And we thought, hey, we're pretty good at making beds. So what could we do here to help out? And at the same time, we found, you heard from Nate Checketts yesterday, his launching of Brands for Better. And we thought, what a perfect way to go to market with this. And we actually got to work to find a way to give back. And I'm going to show you a real quick video about what we did here.
While the world is anything but comfortable, we knew as a true comfort innovation company, it was only right that we do what we do best. With your help, we were able to build over 1,000 beds to help relieve shortages in care facilities caused by COVID-19. We invented a medical-grade bed that could be sterilized between uses and dedicated part of our manufacturing to building them. In partnership with the Brands for Better Coalition and Relief Bed, these beds are being sent where they're needed most. We are honored to join the fight against COVID-19 by keeping our communities, our employees, and our customers comfortable in every sense of the word. Comfort means more than simply feeling good. It's knowing you have the support you need and the relief you seek. It means you can sleep a little easier knowing somebody's got your back. Now more than ever, there is nothing more important. See what we're doing to bring the world comfort at purple.com/comfortmeansmore.
So we were kind of on a roll now. It was just great to see the team come together and find ways to give back and create a new product. And, we are an innovation company at our core. This is all our materials, our design, our product from scratch. And we thought about what else could we do here. And as we were talking through our masks and thinking about this, we realized, hey, maybe we could do something there as well. We've got this amazing pillow. And this pillow, it turns out, had all the materials for a really comfortable mask. And we relooked at that as well. The surface of the pillow is this breeze mesh fabric that allows for high airflow and is moisture wicking. All you need is then a nice high quality cotton layer in between to actually provide the CDC grade filtration. And our elastic material, our hyperelastic polymer, is super soft to the touch, stretches to 10 times its size. And we realized it's a perfect ear loop. And we quickly actually built an entirely new extrusion machine that allows us to crank out these bands by the mile, and came up with a purple pillow-like mask that we were then able to sell by the tens of thousands, to the point that we said, okay, let's get back to our core business now. But was just a great exercise in rapid innovation, rapid go-to-market, and a way to actually do something good and put our people and our talent to use. So it was just a fun project that we're really proud of. So in the end, in just going through a variety of shifts and pivots and focusing on this, we actually saw some pretty dramatic results. So while we haven't announced Q4 yet, we did do press releases for April and May. April, our DTC business was up 170% year over year. May was up 125% year over year. Our wholesale business has slowly crawled back as stores have opened, and this demand has fed back into brick and mortar. So we're actually almost flat year over year back in our wholesale partner doors. We are actively hiring. We've hired over 300 people since COVID began and are pushing hard into that. We've leaned into expanded manufacturing. At the core of making our beds are these giant machines called Max machines, Mattress Max machines. We brought our 7th online in the first week of June. And just on Monday, we did a press release announcing that outside of Atlanta, where we have signed a lease now and have started construction on another 520,000 square feet of manufacturing on the east, in the Southeast, which is very exciting for us. All in, this has been profitable. We're producing cash. We ended Q1 with $26 million in the bank, and as of the end of May, we reported that we had grown that to over $96 million. So very cash flow positive, and the shifts that we've been able to lean to have been very effective for us. So I'll just say it very simply: these are challenging, unfortunate times, but amidst this, we've just are feeling really fortunate with how we've been able to pivot into some opportunity, give back, and provide something of value for our customers. So with that, I will shut it down here and flip back, and I think Veronica is gonna pepper me with some questions.
My first question is really just about how you approach this COVID response, because you obviously had a very successful pivot during the COVID periods. How did you focus your efforts? Did you have a virtual war room? Who was involved in these decisions? How did you rally the company to come up with this strategy?
Yeah, in fairness, we had some prep for this in that I came into a company a couple years ago that had kind of grown so fast. We had sort of grown out of the clothes that we were wearing, and we're really struggling to scale. In many ways, given our size, we were somewhat of a broken company. You just can't grow as quickly as we had as a manufacturer. So we had already, and what came with that was a lot of cultural problems, communication problems. Our employee engagement was not very good. Our attrition was very, very high. So we had already been investing a lot over the last year and a half into improving operations, communications, and getting employees more engaged. So thank goodness for that. I think a year and a half ago, if this had played out, I wouldn't be on the screen with you today. We likely would not be around as a company. But given that we sort of had some of these capabilities that we had been leaning into, communications became just the most important thing. And I did a in-person monthly all hands with the whole company prior to COVID-19. I moved to a weekly all hands video just to make sure that every employee understood where we were, and those were with full open Q&A to just make sure there was a narrative open. With my own management team, we moved from a weekly, once a week executive touch base where we all got together for the week to a twice a day when we started, 10 times a week, once in the morning, once after the day ended, just to make sure things were moving so quickly and data was coming in so rapidly that we were all sticking together because we were not in the office. We weren't seeing each other every day. And it was just, how could we make sure we were getting real-time information, getting us all focused on the right things, and managing through some really tough decisions, especially in the beginning. Sending a third of the company home is not something we took lightly. And even just how do we do that, and how do we do it right, and how do we protect our employees, and how do we make sure they still have medical coverage, and that they're set up for any unemployment benefits, and anything we needed. We just needed to stay focused. As we began to build a strategy and get some momentum, those two times a day dropped to 1 time a day, and now we're down to we're 4 months into this, and we're still meeting most days. So I'm down to 4 days a week, once a day. But it's still just this over communication, staying really tightly close to all initiatives and people, and making sure we're really lockstep and working together as a single team.
Yeah, I mean, when you're virtual, like the most important thing is communication. Just because you can't stop by someone's office and see what's going on, check if they're smiling, frowning, stressed out, it becomes so important to over communicate. You launched a bunch of new products. I mean, the seat cushions you had, but you expanded your SKU depth there. You launched the masks. How did you kind of test into the products that you were going to launch, and what data did you use to determine like where you wanted to focus your efforts?
You know, when you're moving fast and you're trying to capture these things, we're big believers in test and learn. And it's, if you look at our video content and these, 2 billion plus views we've had, a lot of it has been through rapid iteration. I mean, you think of, great television programming, and any given episode may not itself be a masterpiece, but the collection of all episodes, define the success of the show. And in the same way, we put a lot of video content out, and that's always been part of our strategy, is you just keep putting it out, and it's a portfolio play, and the misses are more than offset by the wins. I mean, even our launch video, our Goldilocks video that we launched over 4 years ago now, I mean, we tested dozens and dozens of versions of it before we put any money behind it. I think we tested over 40 opening lines on that one, just to make sure it was resonating and we got the right message. So some of this was, now is not the time to do massive research and in-home tests and really digging in, and let's just get some product out there and be comfortable with the idea of rapid iteration. And we had to do that. I mean, we, the face mask, for instance, we found some problems with it very early on. We had to change some things with the manufacturer. We had to change some things with the messaging. And it was just a rapid iteration, recognizing that doing anything and providing some good out there was better than nothing. And it's in some ways liberating to recognize, we're going to free ourselves up to make mistakes and learn as we go. And that right now we felt the customer is willing to go on that journey with us. And it's a great reminder that you can over-engineer things, and sometimes just getting stuff out the door is the best thing you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned your Goldilocks commercial, and actually, Jeff Helfand had a question about. He said your commercials are amazing, and could you discuss your process for vetting agencies, and what partners have helped you get the viral adoption of your brand?
It's interesting. We've gone through a lot of agencies through the year. That first video was done with a great local agency in Utah where we are, Harmon Brothers, along with a collaboration with a group at the time. It was called Studio C, great primarily YouTube-based comedy troupe. They've rebranded themselves as JK Studios. Working with a partner that understood virality, but also working with a real comedic talent, brought a lot to sort of setting the tone and stage for our company. We've cycled through. We've brought a lot in-house. I think most would be surprised how much we actually do ourselves now. We've really got quite a team and quite a capability in-house. And we've cycled through a lot of agencies really more opportunistically. But it's really just been getting it out there. And while you bring it up, it's an interesting challenge as we've gone more mainstream and, aren't just this little scrappy internet company and are becoming a major challenger, taking meaningful share in the industry. Sort of this comedic, whimsical, juvenile type of video advertising is not mainstream. It cut through the clutter and it gave us some original coverage, which is terrific. And that's not to say we have to abandon humor and whimsy, but as you really look at the market opportunity, it's not the young gaming guy, who's in their first job in their first apartment or out of college. It's a much more affluent household, and tends to be much more focused on the female decision maker in the household. And sort of the Monty Python school of sophomoric humor doesn't necessarily resonate as well into those premium purchases. And the average selling price of our mattress, actual retail sold price is over $1,800. This is a premium considered purchase. And as much as our video advertising has brought us to where we are, one of our challenges right now, and COVID-19 has accelerated some of this as well, is how do we continue to pivot our messaging and our narrative into our product and this amazing invention that we have, that only we have, as well as how do we appeal to a broader base.
Great. And Joe, I'm going to ask you one more question, but it's a great one and a lot of people upvoted it. It was from Steve Zanette. He asked, were there any particular digital channels you leaned into more than others? And were there any surprisingly successful or disappointing? So he wants to know where you've had media success and failures during. Yeah,
it's and the answer might be surprising. So obviously, as this hit across the board, CPCs, CPMs plummeted in price. I mean, we saw significant declines in the costs of marketing, but not across the, it depends on your vertical and not across all channels. And we also saw that what was happening is, especially in home and furniture, as people were not going out, not taking vacations and focusing on their home, where there was more demand for making your home your palace, investing in where you were. So it did get somewhat more competitive. With us, we actually, believe it or not, shifted pretty dramatically into very traditional channels. So what we saw is things like retargeting, the costs were skyrocketing as everyone was trying to go after the audiences and close the deal. And we sort of went the other way and realized that we could do something that's very difficult to normally pull off and cast a much wider net, drive significantly more traffic, have that traffic because of the change we were seeing in the audiences online. There was a lot more addressable market online, have much more qualified traffic come to the site and drive up conversions through really fairly traditional mechanisms. Meant this was the one time we could actually go wide and really push out some spend because of the decay in costs. We were able to basically double our traffic, hold conversion constant because of the different addressable market, and effectively double our business without having CACs go up at all. And just the diminishing returns you normally have as you invest into channels, we were able to sort of arbitrage around. And instead of getting surgical into a few areas of opportunity, it was more of actually pulling out of some of the more expensive channels and focusing much more on the traditional channels, which again, it was an unusual time, an opportunity for arbitrage. And fortunately, I had the team that was able to identify this, lean in hard, and clearly it worked out well for us.
That's so great. Well, we are out of time for this session. There is, I think, one more question in the audience Q&A. So if you can stay and answer it, that would be amazing. Joe, thank you so much for joining us today and for taking the time to answer everyone's questions. It was really an interesting presentation, and I think the audience appreciated the live Q&A.